Hello, I'm James, and I'm an old guy in Europe. Hello, and welcome to another episode of An Old Guy in Europe. Have you ever wanted to take a sunset train from Espinho to Lisboa, Portugal, but didn't have 3 hours to make the trip? Well, I have. So here's your opportunity to enjoy the next best thing, because this week I share my sunset train trip to Lisboa condensed down to only 10 minutes. So please simply sit back, relax, and enjoy. Portugal's national railway company, Comboios de Portugal, or CP, is responsible for most passenger train services in the country and has 4 main service types. The long-distance trains, running mostly north and south, connecting major cities such as Lisboa, Porto, Braga, and Faro, which are the Alfa Pendular, or AP, the fastest and most comfortable trains with fewer stops than the IC, and the IC, or Intercidades trains, serving essentially the same routes as the AP at a lower cost with more stops. And both offer first and second class seating options with differences in size and comfort of seats and ticket cost. So let's get started with my sunset train ride from Espinho to Lisboa, and I'll talk about the other train services once we're underway. Only because it was at the time I needed, I happened to catch one of only a very few AP trains that stop at Espinho each day, and I had a second-class seat on the west-facing side of the train, which afforded a great view of the sunset. So, the other 2 passenger train service types I mentioned earlier are the regional R and interregional IR slower trains connecting smaller towns and cities, and the urban, or U, commuter trains in metropolitan areas, Lisboa, Porto, and Coimbra. CP connects with bus, metro, and international services, notably to Spain. Tickets and passes can be purchased online at cp.pt, on the CP app, or at stations. Discounts for certain groups like children, students, and seniors, for example, are also available. Anyone, regardless of citizenship or country of origin, who is age 65 or older qualifies for a 50% discount on all ticket purchases. So this is my sunset train ride from Espinho to Lisboa, Portugal. As you can see, one of the greatest challenges of filming through glass is lighting. As the outside light from the sunset becomes ever darker, the inside lighting becomes more and more dominant. So reflection off the glass becomes more and more difficult to manage. What I found while watching this video was that focusing on the horizon and the sun itself helped to diminish the distraction of the interior reflection. And I apologize for this viewing challenge created by the lighting situation. Regardless, I hope you enjoy the sunset on the ride south to Lisboa. By this time, the sky had actually become quite dark, and it's difficult to see because of the automatic exposure settings of the camera. But in reality, we were well into dusk, and the full darkness of night was approaching. At this point, you can only know how dark it is outside by how light the interior looks in the reflection. And now that it's become so dark outside, and it becomes more and more difficult to see the exterior, it becomes increasingly important to stay focused on the horizon and the brighter objects outside on the other side of the reflection in order to see more clearly. And finally, after 3 hours and the full setting of the sun, we've arrived at Cara do Oriente, Lisboa. Sidonio and Luisa's son, Guilherme, had taken the same train, but on a different car, so we met on the platform at Oriente before making our way to the Vasco da Gama shopping mall to meet them for a bite to eat before making our way to Ericeira. Goodbye, train. Thanks for the beautiful sunset ride to Lisboa. And from Lisboa Orient to Vasco da Gama Mall. Now to find Sidonio and Luisa.
I see.
And after a very happy greeting and a late meal for them, and one last look at Orient Station, we were on our way to Ericeira. As I mentioned in episode 5, my first day in Portugal, it's about a 40-minute drive from Lisboa to Ericeira.
Esta moto está com pressa de entregar o quê?
Não sei se ele recebeu logo nesse dia, ontem, ou se recebeu hoje.
James, do you want to film over here or?
I will, but it's not in the picture yet. Okay. There's going to be some bumpy footage.
Yeah, the road is not good for the for food.
Do you want to stop?
Nah.
We can stop over there. You know. It's not good.
Faz aqui uns bigodes.
In just 10 minutes or so after passing the Convento de Mafra, we arrived to the home of Sidonio and Luisa in Ericeira, Portugal, and where I called home for nearly 3.5 years.
I want to do some graffiti.
Fogo, ainda não acabaram isto.
Oh, olha esta rua tão
Ai, depois
espetacular.
quando vieram pôr eu disse assim, olha, já viu esta miséria? Acham que vamos botar...
So this concludes this episode. Please stay tuned for a future episode of my weekend in Ericeira.